Welcome to the milk bar. 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 Welcome to the milk bar.
Welcome along to episode 652 of the Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on the show this week, we've got my Christmas jumper in view, which is the important thing. The Milk Bar Christmas jumper, essential every year. Plus, we'll be talking a bit about Christmas with the chat with Ian Henery. He's got a couple of Christmas poems for us that he'll be sharing. Plus, in a similar sort of vein, we'll be finding out about a medieval Christmas and some brilliant music on the hurdy-gurdy from Paul Baker from Diablos in Musica. We'll be talking about the booster campaign for the vaccine, which is ongoing. Dr Helen Nawal joining us for data about that, and the pop-up street teams of community ambassadors that you'll be seeing around about. And we'll be looking forward to 2022 because the sensational 60 shows at Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre. We'll be having a chat with Beaky, the real original Beaky from Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Titch, all about what's going to be on the road and the brilliant music they're bringing to the stage of the Grand. That's all on the way on the show this week. On the 24th of April 2022, the sensational 60s experiences at Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre, touring the nation, bringing brilliant songs to those who need that 60s fix. I'm joined now by one of the members, the original members of one of the bands. It's Beaky from Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Titch. Hello, sir.
Hello, Jason. How on devil are you?
I'm good, and I trust we find you well.
Yeah, not too bad. I won't ask how you are because we'll get into a conversation about your medical problems.
Yeah, let's not go there. But I mean, when we're looking back, I mean, we're looking back to some brilliant music from the 60s and a career for you. Now, that must span over 50 years, nearly 60.
Well, I joined a band called Dave D and the Bostons in 1961, and I've been with them sort of ever since, basically. So right up to they changed the name and. Yeah, so I've been there a lot of years, 60-odd years, I think.
And this is with some wonderful music as we go along. Shout out some of your favourite hits. Which are the ones that you enjoy performing most?
I think all of them. When you perform, when you're having a shower at home and you think, oh, I've got to go and play Xanadu tonight or Bend It tonight, you think, oh, my goodness me, I've been doing this all these years. And then you actually play it on stage to an audience and you get such a buzz out of it. And it's I enjoy playing all of them because it brings back a lot of memories to a lot of people.
But equally, for those who are a little bit younger, I mean, I wasn't born until the 70s, so I missed out on all this fantastic stuff in the 60s. But this is music that my parents listened to, and then I picked up on. And the 60s has been such an influence for the 80s into the 90s. It is all still completely relevant, but amazing music.
Well, it was the start of the music, as rock and roll was, I remember in 55, 56, I heard this rock around the clock and I thought, what is that? And I know Eddie Cochran and Elvis Presley, and then we had our own Cliff Richards and all that. And I thought, I want to be like the Shadows. I want to pick guitar and I want to do the steps that they did. And it was new. It was all new. But I do find these days that where can you go with music now? It's been done. Well, they've done the rap and they've done the punk and they've done the disco and they've done everything with music. I don't know where it's going to go now. Whereas when I was, a youngster, it was all new coming in. It was all brand new stuff. Never heard it before.
And that excitement has been part of it. And you get to spend time on the road as part of this tour with others who will have been doing other amazing things at the same time. When it comes to the Searchers, I mean, a different sound and maybe a slightly different audience at the time. But now it sort of all comes to one, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, in our day,
it's still your day.
But, when we had the hits and everything, you could recognize bands, you could... Oh, there's the Hollies, or there's the Trogs walking down the street. Yeah, I know that band. That's the Tremolos. But now, I mean, I wouldn't know one of Westlife or any of people now if they said hello to me. I wouldn't know who they were. I've heard of them, but I wouldn't recognize them. It's changed so much over the years. It's just changed a hell of a lot.
And with that change, obviously, what has gone before doesn't get lost. It just becomes part of a great bit of history. But equally, keeping this music alive, I think, is so important. And although many of the bands will have had new members who've probably been there in many cases since like the 70s and 80s as lineups have changed over the years. You must be proud to be still rocking it as part of your group.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously we made some changes because we lost Dave and Dozy, and Titch is retired now. He's quite happy. He's had enough, and so there's me, and there's the Mick, the drummer. He's been with us for 30, 45, 40 years. But to keep the music playing and to keep the hits going, it's about getting people in to replace them. But being we got a name of our nicknames, it's not Dozy on stage. It's Paul Cornwell, and it's not the lead guitarist, not Titch. It's Chris Coote. It's a matter of changing and keeping the hits going and earning some money, of course. That's the good thing about it as well at my age.
Absolutely. The retirement funds are difficult to pay into when you're a jobbing artist, and that has always been the case. And although many artists did well, the 60s, it wasn't quite the sort of massive money that's maybe some of the likes of Oasis, etc., make today.
If we had now four of our hits now these days, I wouldn't even do radio interviews.
Surely you'd still talk to me.
Yeah, of course I would, Jace. Not this time in the morning, though. No, it was the start of everything, And you say you were younger and you missed the 60s. They were absolutely fabulous years. They just were so good. Everybody had jobs. Everybody had a car. Everybody could afford this. And then it got into the 70s, which were good, and the 80s. I don't think they'll be holding a 2018 night.
It's less likely to happen. I don't think we're going to be doing that quite so much in the future. But we've got this glorious music from the 60s and a brilliant lineup. You've got the Fortunes, the Dakotas. You've got Mike Pender, MBE, the voice of the Searchers. So you've got literally a sensational lineup for this whole show.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the nice thing about meeting up with all these lads again is the fact that there's always one that's an idiot. But on this tour, that everybody is all in everybody's dressing rooms and they're backs and forwards, and they're all friends, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. And you've got the Trems along there as well, who are all former members of the Tremolos. So you've got a great lineup of great music, and we're talking about more than 2.5 hours of music on stage, all of it live.
Yeah, everything's live, well, as live as it can be at my age. But I mean, it's memories. It brings back memories. I look out from the stage and, I see a sea of grey. That's what I see. And it's all people, all their memories. Oh, yeah, I crashed my car when this came out. My girlfriend rang me up and said, oh, I remember that, because she rang me up and said she was late. And I thought, oh, no. And they all got memories for certain songs.
And so that's whether it's somebody who heard it first time round, or whether it's, again, maybe a memory made with a family member who may not be around anymore, who was actually part of that music scene at the time.
Exactly. I mean, it just brings back, oh, crikey, I was only 18 when I did, or only 15 when this came over. I got pictures of you on my bedroom wall. These all people my age. I mean, the audience look like us now. I mean, it's a fabulous show. And
you get to have a bit of a reminisce as well at the same time as bringing some great tunes to life.
Oh yeah, I mean you just go through. I mean I should write a book really, but I haven't got round to it. But the experience of starting, when we started, if bed and breakfast was 7 shillings, we could stay. If it was 7 and 6, we'd have to sleep in the van. And it was all those were memories that, you think, oh, that's where you're a lot younger then you could do it. But those were just great memories of all the times that we had getting to having a hit.
Yeah, and what a lot of hits there were. Was it in 1966, out of the 52 weeks of the year, 50 of them you were in the charts?
Yeah, we were like a little record machine factory. It was a hit after hit after hit.
Well, so many top tens as well. I mean, then those are the days where if you had a top 10, back then, you were looking at huge record sales. You probably had an equivalent of the entire chart sales for a week with just one of your singles.
Well, we were on the same label as the Walker Brothers, Phillips Fontana, and we were selling 270,000 records a day. That is
amazing, isn't it?
And the Walker Brothers were number one with The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore, and Hold Tight was number two. And they outsold us by about 30,000 records that particular week.
But massive sales for brilliant music. And as you say, something that was so fresh, new, and is just emulated these days. And in a world where you guys created pop, didn't you, really?
Well, I'm probably saying what my dad said. I'm not keen on the music these days because it is, I sound like my old man. But there's nothing new coming out. There's nothing that you can say, oh, I haven't heard that before. You may have heard the melody before. I'll go, I have the radio on. There's maybe a girl singer, Beyonce or whoever's singing. And I go and have a shower and come back. There's another girl singer. And they sound, I don't know who they are anymore. I know Dusty Springfield. I know Lulu. I know all these singers and Kiki D. I know these people. I know their voices, but they all sound the same to me. So there you go. I'm getting old. Must be my age. I
think it does get us like that as we get a little older, but it doesn't mean we're any less discerning. And you've got quality music that you'll be sharing, and with some great bands alongside you. It's going to be an absolutely awesome night. As I say, the Dakotas, the Fortunes, the Trems, Dozy, Beaky, Mick and Titch, and you've got Mike Pender, the original voice of the Searchers. It's going to be a fantastic 2022 tour of the sensational 60s experience. grandtheatre.co.uk to get your tickets for the 24th of April. They will make a fantastic Christmas gift. It'll be absolutely wonderful. And you can give the box office a shout on 01902 429212. But you've got a great lineup, great music, and you're going to be just having such fun on the road. I think that's the important bit.
Well, we have fun on stage now because I enjoy playing now because nobody's screaming and they're all nice people, and you can go in and say hello and you don't get bothered. And we've done it all, improved everything that we've done, so now it's going on stage and just having a good time and having a laugh with the audience. It's not them and us, it's just us all together. The audience, they sing most of the songs with us, and we just have a laugh and a giggle, and that's it. That's what we do.
It's going to be a brilliant Christmas gift. Make sure you get these as a festive gift for that person in your life who's going to like proper music from way back when.
Yeah. Like that, proper music.
Well, it stood the test of time. You're still doing it. There must be something right about it.
Yeah, well, what else can I do?
Beaky, thank you for joining us. Have a great time on the road. Do you have to say break a leg to a band? I'm not entirely sure. Whatever happens, have a fantastic tour.
Yeah, we will do. And everybody out there, have a Merry Christmas and all that. And we'll see you next year.
There's a £22.5 million investment in making sure the message gets across when it comes to our booster jabs. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Dr Helen Nawal. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, first of all, explain a little more about this current campaign, because we're seeing street teams out across our area.
Yeah, the government is calling on all of us to get boosted now. This is part of a national mission to build that wall of defence against COVID-19 as we see rising cases of the new Omicron variant. And this really is about people stepping forward for their first, second and third booster doses to get boosted, because we know the vaccine provides the best protection against COVID-19.
Yeah, because although we're on a variant that is causing us concern now with Omicron, still we know that we are getting a level of protection from the vaccine. The booster is what is making the difference for those who are double jabbed already. And although we may see a change in the vaccine to give better protection later on for this variant and future ones, being vaccinated now is vitally important, isn't it?
It really is. And unfortunately, we're seeing that although the vaccine has been very effective so far at reducing rates of hospitalisation and deaths, what we're seeing with this new variant, Omicron, is that the vaccine is less effective. It's significantly less effective than with the Delta variant. But what we do know is for those people who can have their booster dose, it does push the protection back up above 70%, which is really where we want it to be. Mm-hmm. And also for those people who haven't had any vaccine at all, it's still okay. It's not too late to come forward to have your first or second booster.
I mean, it could be you've got away with it so far. It might be you had it in the early days and before vaccines were out there. But this doesn't mean you need to stop and not have it now. And with the levelling up funding that is coming out to councils to allow this campaign to work, you will see people on the streets with leaflets, pop-up banners and the like. And this is happening in Wolverhampton itself. I know it's going on in Birmingham and Worcester in our area too. So, do get that message on board and get yourself booked in. And although, a few months ago, it would be really easy to get that third jab and get your booking, look at what's available. You can go online, or there are walk-in centres available too.
Yeah, it's even easier now. This is part of the push. We've got an army, if you like, of street vaccine ambassadors who have been deployed across the country, local areas, as you said. They'll be present in shopping centres, places where there's lots of footfall, and they'll be there to speak to people on the streets, give them information about the vaccine, answer any questions, provide reassurance. And alongside each team, there'll be a vaccine bus. And there's also lots of these extra pop-up sites, as you mentioned, where people will be able to go in and have their vaccine, and lots of new vaccine centres as well. So it really is easier than ever to get vaccinated, whether that's your first, second or your booster. And of course, not only can you attend these pop-up sites if you're already out and about, just go in and have your jab there and then. It's simple jab in the arm. You can also go online to book in, and you do that at nhs.uk/COVID vaccine, or you can call 119 as well. So lots of different ways to access this vaccine, and this really is becoming more urgent and more important than ever.
Yeah, I had my booster a couple of weeks ago now, which means I am now, because it will take a couple of weeks to get you as fully protected as you can be. So I'm now as fully protected as I can be, which is good. My first one was the AstraZeneca, and then I had it's a half dose of the Moderna that you get as the booster. And if you felt a bit woozy before, now actually I was fine with this one. It's the ones that we're getting now as the booster are the RNA vaccines, aren't they? So they are maybe a different take on the way your body saw it last time. So it will be a little bit different, but it is, again, nothing to worry about. We know that these the figures we're getting back show minimal side effects in general population.
Yeah, so the booster dose, as you said, it's either Moderna or Pfizer that is being offered now. And with any vaccination, whether it's for COVID-19 or the vaccinations we had in childhood or the annual flu vaccination that some people do get, there is always going to be some side effects, whether that be soreness of the arm, in the muscle of the arm, feeling slightly bruised for a few days, or a mild response, such as a mild fever or cold or flu-like symptoms. Some people do get more severe reactions, but the point is that's normal, that's to be expected. That's what we want. That's the body reacting to the vaccine, producing antibodies. And it's those antibodies that after 14 days, we know you're going to get potentially up to 94% protection. So those antibodies that we need for if we're exposed to COVID-19 will help us not get that severe form of the illness that results in hospitalisation. And actually, we don't quite know yet with the Omicron. There's new data yet to come out as how protective it's going to be against severe illness. We know so far that it's not as effective against symptomatic disease, and that's why it's more important than ever to get the booster now to really boost that back up. And you can book that booster 3 months after you've had your second dose. You can have it, and you can go online and book it 2 months after, so that you know that that's coming up.
So you've got an opportunity to get this done, no cost to you at point of use. And, this is all about the way in which the NHS does a fantastic job of rolling these things out. We know it doesn't. I'm looking down at my notes. Is it something like 26 million booster doses have already gone into arms out there?
It absolutely is now. We've now reached the 26 million booster mark, which is absolutely incredible. The efforts of the NHS and lots of volunteers as well. And this really is part of the biggest vaccination programme we've seen in NHS history. It really is incredible.
Yeah, so we now have the technology and the ability to do this, whereas in the past this would have been difficult. And we are doing our absolute best to avoid loss of life, to avoid long COVID, to avoid people losing time with their families. And we know that this is essential, particularly as we're heading into Christmas, and to get the best possibility if you do inadvertently pick up coronavirus, and in particular the new Omicron variant, which is a variant of concern. So once again, where do we go, as well as looking out for not only the community ambassadors, the community champions, and all the great stuff that is being done to remind us that we need to get our jabs?
You can speak to your GP, or you can go online, NHS/COVID vaccine. You can call 119. And as I say, look out for those street team ambassadors who are going to be in your local area.
Well, Dr. Helen Nawal, always good to speak to you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for helping get the message across in this important push against coronavirus and COVID-19.
Thank you.
Now, Paul Baker has been heading off, creating some wonderful magical musical moments with a medieval feel, although it's all festive too. That's a reasonably long sentence. I almost took a breath, and he joins me on the line now to tell me more about what he's been up to. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I am excellent, thank you, apart from my phone collapsing.
Well, we're having a few technical problems because we have you in vision, but you have you on the landline. It looks like some sort of piece from the news in the 70s where they had that some...
It's very Heath Robinson. It's what in technical terms is called a kludge.
Okay, well, it's working, which is what counts. So, what has been going on? Because you've been in your medieval garb all over the place with a hurdy-gurdy.
Yes, in December there was the big Ludlow disaster, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But over December, I've done it's all solo stuff because museums have lost huge amounts of funding and they can't afford the big band. Mm-hmm. But I've done two days at Aston Hall, which was fantastic, in the Long Gallery, playing all sorts of Christmas stuff, Jacobean. I've done a thing for the Forrest Historical... forgot the exact name. It's the Forrest History Group. That was fun down in Kidderminster.
Yeah.
And then there was the Ludlow thing.
Yeah. So because it basically got blown away, didn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we were fine. Well, apart from not doing the gig, we were fine. We were put up in a very nice little self-catering cottage on the Friday night. And we got there early, and it was out in the sticks, so we got in a 4-hour rehearsal, which was excellent. We went to bed, and then we thought it was a bit windy out there, but we were quite happy, tucked up in bed with a log fire going downstairs. We drove in costume. I dropped everybody off at the main gate with the instruments, and then I went to park. And I'd driven across to the other side of town because the local parking was already full. And I got a phone call from one of my colleagues who said, "Have you parked yet?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Don't, come back to the main gate." So I drove back to the main gate, and we packed everything back into the car because it had been cancelled. And of course, what we didn't know was that the whole of that Friday night, the staff had been on site basically desperately trying to hold everything down.
Yeah, it's a terrible shame, wasn't it?
Three huge marquees and about 40 traders' tents. Basically, it trashed the lot, trashed the entire site.
Yeah, so much loss. But out of adversity comes obviously the eagerness to do things again, and I'm sure they will bounce back. But it did mean that loads of people missed out on a bit of magical medieval music.
Yeah, it's an idyllic event. Of course, it was in Ludlow Castle. Mm-hmm. In the Ludlow Castle grounds, and there were Christmas lights and performances from us and about 3 other bands and all sorts of stuff. But unfortunately, we got a storm.
Yes, well, this is what we have insurance for. Next year, fingers crossed.
Next year. it'll happen.
So, I mean, let's talk a bit about Christmas itself back in the time that you're portraying here, because I know Henry VIII would have been the first monarch to have turkey, because the Americas was discovered about 70 years before he got to the throne, and it took a little while for him to export the things, but he would have enjoyed a turkey dinner on Christmas Day. But what else should we know about your period of history?
Well, they didn't really do Christmas much. Christmas, well, I mean, it was celebrated, but it wasn't a big thing. The big one was New Year, which is a little bit odd because New Year wasn't when it is now.
They were 2 months out, weren't they?
Yeah, it was the calendar. I mean, the reason that if you follow accounting practice and your accounts all start in April, which is a bit weird when you think about it. That's the reason, because that was New Year. I mean, the sensible folk like me go December to December, January to December. But now the April accounting, I think, was actually based on New Year, which was where New Year had got to, and it was all. It was all a problem of this Catholic versus Protestant thing. Well, it started with Julius Caesar, because Julius Caesar got his folks together and said the calendar's a mess. We need to sort it out, and he got a system. They developed a system for measuring the calendar and working out the months and all this sort of thing. And it was fine when Julius Caesar did it 2,000 years ago. But the trouble is, it wasn't that accurate, and it started to slip out. And it slipped out, and then there was the nearest thing to a global power base, which was the Catholic Church, in about I think it was the 15th century, but somebody will correct me on that. Just decided this is getting stupid. It's all slipping out. So let's revise it. Pope Gregory it was, I think.
Hence the Gregorian calendar.
I mean, the real thing that was getting their goat was the date of being able to work out the date of Easter, which was a big thing apparently. Yeah. It was they couldn't really decide, so they got a big council together and they sorted out the calendar, and the new one worked beautifully. Well, worked adequately. It's the one we still use, except of course because it was Catholic, none of the Protestant lands would adopt it. No, we're not having this. We're sticking to the Julian calendar. So half the world was using the new calendar and half the world was using the old one, which means that, but it was middle of the 18th century before we finally saw sense and said, yeah, actually, Pope Gregory's calendar works a lot better than the Julian one.
So we got there in the end.
Yeah,
but I mean, Easter would have been around New Year, because New Year had to have been March or September to be the 7th month, wouldn't it? March, April, May, June, July, August, September. That's September. So so your New Year would be around. Yeah, give them a month at the start of the calendar and then do your accounts.
Yeah, I mean, it basically slipped further and further and further out with what the sun was telling you. So, but we finally saw sense.
Which is it, yeah, and leap years all make it all add up, which is what counts. Okay, so
but if you're doing historical research, you have to be a bit careful but with what year they actually mean, because if you see a date in January 1532, you have to think, hang on, wait a minute, is that our 1532 or is it a year out because the new year hasn't happened yet, that sort of thing.
It just get awfully confusing. Let's stick to music, because music at least has still got the same number of notes. Please tell me the notes haven't changed since then.
No, they have notes. Well, they've changed the shape. They're round now, and they used to be square, but basically they're the same thing.
That's okay. As long as we've got that bit sorted, that's what counts. So when it comes down to festive music from this time then, what would we have?
Well, there were carols. The old medieval carols, there aren't that many of them, or at least not many of them surviving, and people would probably sing those in pubs the way they sometimes still do in Yorkshire. Christmas was a church holiday, so they would celebrate it, but it wasn't a big thing.
There were no presents, and certainly not a speech on parchment from the monarch.
No, no, they didn't do that. it would take too long to disseminate. They haven't got television then.
No, a bit difficult back in the day. Okay, so when it comes to performing then, I mean, this is going to be interesting by telephone because we had planned to Zoom link this, but Zoom is not being our friend. What could you play for us that would give us a feel of the festivities of that time? And have you got a hurdy-gurdy to hand?
I have a hurdy-gurdy to hand.
Always.
Let's play some Christmassy stuff. The few that have survived on a gurdy.
Okay.
I might even sing a bit as well.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Take it away.
In combination of German and Latin. Nun singet uns seid froh, unser Herzen wolle leit im Präzepio, und leuchtet als die Sonne matris in gremio, alta ete alta ete Parole, nach dir ist mir so weh, tröst mir mein Gemüte, o puer optime, durch alle deine Güte, o Princeps Glorie, trame poste. Caritas, und Natilenitas, wir werden als Senioren der Nostra Trinidad, so hat uns erworben, Senioren Gaudia, aia werden wir da. Gaudia, nirgends mehr denn da die Engel singen, Nova Cantica, und die Sterne singen in Regis Gloria. Aia werden wir da. That
excellent work.
That's three. Well, the Sussex Carol, I'm not sure goes back to that date, but it's trad.
Yes.
The others are totally legit.
That's the way to do it. I mean, in Dulce Jubilo, which of course we heard there as well, I mean, that is something we know because it's played in virtually every department store from the middle of June. So,
Oh, yes. Well, Steel Eye Span or somebody did a version of it, didn't they?
And Mike Oldfield, he was there with...
I was close.
With his
I know it was one of those, yeah.
Yeah. But the Steel Eye Span was Gaudete, which again works wonderfully well on probably a Shawm and a hurdy-gurdy combined.
Yep. Yep. P.A. Canteoli is 1589. That is, if you want to look it up, isn't it? It's a Swedish, I think. The book of basically songs, some of which are Christmassy.
There you go. It is that Christmassy sound. I mean, the hurdy-gurdy is one of those instruments which it seems to be able to set itself to any season.
Oh yeah, it's the star of the show.
Well, I mean, you've got a new year hopefully full of some fantastic music, appearing at events, and particularly over the summer. I know you get particularly busy, as you get to sort of share an open air, sort of medieval time with people, and this means that bookings are being taken now.
Well, yes. I mean, they don't really normally start coming in until about the middle of January. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a dead period after Christmas, but you know, but I'm an instrument maker as well. Yeah. So I shall be working pretty much right the way through Christmas.
So whether someone's looking for an instrument or they're looking to book you to perform, either you or alongside your colleagues, how do they get in touch and where do we find you?
Website's the easiest, www.diabolus.org. That's diabolus.org, and it means the devil in music.
And that again, I think covers the hurdy-gurdy quite nicely in some ways. In the wrong hands, for definite. In yours, it does sing for us, which is absolutely brilliant. Paul Baker, have a fantastic Christmas. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you out and about in 2022.
Thank you ever so much. Merry Christmas.
Somebody who's been working the festive poetry circuit is Ian Henery, who joins me now for a bit of a natter. Hello, sir.
Happy Christmas, Jason.
Happy Christmas to you too, and I'm hoping for joyous times for you and your family. And you've been out sharing a bit of joy and a bit of thought when it comes to your poetry, because you've been at all sorts of events over the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Well, flying the flag really for Wolverhampton, because I'm proud to be from Wolverhampton. And recently I was given the opportunity of performing with the Staffordshire Poet Laureate and an organisation called Word Stafford at the Gatehouse Theatre in Stafford.
Wonderful place. I saw their panto this year. That was brilliant.
It's to celebrate Christmas. And Stafford, you know, it's not a million miles away from Wolverhampton, Jason. It's only down the A449. It's 12 miles. And I thought, well, this gives me a chance to go over there at the Gatehouse and big it up for Wolverhampton, because I'm really excited about a rewriting of Clement Clarke's more immortal poem, The Night Before Christmas, also known as A Visit from St. Nicholas, but about Wolverhampton and about what we're living through now. Just to explain a little bit about Clement Clarke Moore's poem, it's the most read, most well-read, most memorised poem about Christmas, and it's that poem that gives us today flying reindeers, Santa coming down the chimney, presents coming down the chimney, even Christmas stockings. They all come from a poem. So the names of the reindeers, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Comet, Donner, Blitzen, Cupid, Vixen, they're all from a poem. And I thought to myself, if that poem was written in 1822 for his family on Christmas Eve, what would a poem sound like written for Wolverhampton in 2021? And that's what I took to the Gatehouse Theatre in Stafford.
Yeah, 199 years since the original, and you've done a bit of work on it, and you'll share that in a moment or two's time. But this poem itself, it was about having a thoughtful time at Christmas and creating some of the magic that we go through. But some of that may have felt a little tarnished over the last couple of Christmases. And again, this year, we're concerned about how many people can get together to ensure we're kept safe from the pandemic that's ongoing.
Absolutely. But the magic of Christmas doesn't go away, and it shouldn't go away. It's not about the presents beneath the tree. It's about the presents for our loved ones and being there for our loved ones and celebrating the magic. And the poem talks about the best present of all that you can give for Christmas, which is love. And you're not going to get that from any supermarket.
Absolutely not. But this means I need you to do a bit of poetry reading for us. So please feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Jason. Cue poem. It's called Wolverhampton COVID Christmas 2021, and it's inspired by the 1822 Clement Clarke Moore poem, The Night Before Christmas. It goes like this. The night before Christmas, all through the town, people wore masks that covered up their frowns. It had all begun last year, in the spring, when COVID-19 changed everything. Christmas parties gone, there were not any. 12 pubs of Christmas, 11 too many. It was no different in Wolverhampton. Now, with Gamma, Delta, and Omicron, it's a virus that's spread throughout the land. People cancelling events they have planned the night before Christmas. But COVID's here. We all have to remain cautious this year. Visions of variants danced in our heads as we awaited Santa in our beds. COVID, we couldn't leave mince pie or cake. Santa's got hand sanitizer to take. This year, festive fun a struggle, a task. Even Santa and Rudolph wearing masks the night before Christmas. Trying to sleep, and a noise stirred me from my slumbers deep. Outside, there arose such a great clatter. Got out of my bed to see what's the matter. Grabbing my hoodie, leaping down the stairs to see Santa and Rudolph standing there. Social distancing, keep 6 feet away. Dumbstruck, reindeers, and a gift-laden sleigh. In Wolverhampton, gonna get clumped without a permit. It's Christmas, he said, and Santa's coming, and at that the reindeer started humming. Santa smiled and started singing. I swear I could hear the church bells ringing. We have all had our boosters in our arms, Santa said, so it will cause you no harm. Presents are doused in disinfectant spray, and together we'll keep COVID at bay. Rudolph's red nose doesn't mean infected. Had the vaccine, careers resurrected. Santa smiled and his eyes shone like the stars. Crossing borders needs a new PCR. I don't care if kids are naughty or nice. If they have proof they have had their shot twice. He had been stuck in the North Pole alone. Reindeers on furlough, elves working from home. Santa braved COVID, bringing Christmas gifts. At the end of the year, our hearts to lift. He gave me a box. I opened it wide. Twinkling Christmas lights streamed from inside. Released, forming letters up to the sky, spelling out one words, hundreds of feet high. Okay, boys and girls, so what was the word? The first letter was L, then O, and V. The word was love when added an E. Christmas magic, Santa smiled through his beard. Peace to all is not outdated or weird. Before Santa left with reindeers and sleigh, he had one more Christmas message to say. Merry Christmas to all. Have a good night. Get vaccinated. Join the COVID fight. Stop your whinging and blaming each other. For just a few days, pretend we're brothers. I went back to bed and had Christmas dreams of a better world after COVID-19.
Thank you very much for that. A lot of thought, time, effort, and humour got into that. And I was not giggling all the way through because I want to say the applause and the recognition for the end. But it's nice to take a look at these things and do it in such a way as that you are thinking about what is affecting everybody, but still avoiding things that are infecting everybody.
Thank you. When I did it at the Gatehouse Theatre, Jason, I looked around. I wanted to do something Christmassy, something that was family friendly, but also something that would get people talking. And when I looked around on stage, the audience seemed to be full of kids who had just been to see Snow White. And all these little kids were dressed up in the party dresses and the party outfits. And the little kids were laughing. He said Rudolph, Mummy. And it's just nice. Just nice. Christmas.
It's good fun, and you're saying Christmas should be celebrated, whatever the situation around us. And say if we can get together and we are safe to do so, and we're lateral flow testing, then we have an opportunity to avoid causing problems and spreading illness, which is what we want to avoid. Spread joy and love, but nothing else. So we talked about the fact you have 2 festive offerings for us. So what else can you bring me at a poetry front for this time of year?
Well, I'm chuffed to bits to I've had a little sort of arrangement with a magazine called Black Country Connection magazine, which links businesses with local people and in the community. And it's distributed free of charge across the Black Country. And every month, 9,000 copies of this magazine, Black Country Connection magazine, right across the area. And I have a whole page. and I wrote a poem for my little girl, Emily, because she's always asking questions. Daddy, what's Christmas about? Do reindeers really fly? And it got me thinking, Jason, about what Christmas is all about. You know, what's the true meaning of Christmas? And Bart Simpson famously said, and I quote Bart Simpson, "Aren't we forgetting the true meaning of Christmas? You know, the birth of Santa." So that's what the poem is all about. What's the true meaning of Christmas? And it's published in Black Country Connection magazine. Shall I read it, Jason?
Go for it.
And I also read this on stage at the Gatehouse Theatre, and for the magazine distributed copies to the audience, even though it's Stafford and not the Black Country. Poem. Please, miss, does Santa Claus exist? We don't have what's called a chimney. I'll always get my wish list. Carrots and whiskey disappear after silly dad goes to bed. I know it's him every year. Please, miss, reindeers don't really fly. Santa's sleigh can't land on our roof. It's dad who eats all the mince pies. Burglar alarm always set. My dad is most particular. At Christmas, he wouldn't forget. Please, miss, what's the Christmas story? Winter festival or solstice? A baby born to God's glory? There's lots of stuff I want to ask. We're bombarded with images. Tell me, are you up to the task? Lots of questions in one so small. I was trained for this at college, but how can I answer them all? Thinks, yeah, how old? Only 8. Is that the time? It's getting late. Please, miss, what is Christmas all about? The eating, drinking, and binges, and afterwards, grown-ups just shout. Miss, I know when stockings are filled, it all goes on credit card bills. Added to this Christmas expense, it's 24 hours of suspense for the big guy in the red suit, fur-lined, bewhiskered, and in boots. What's it all about, miss? Good gracious, let me have a drink. Ask the audience, call a friend. 50-50, I need a drink. A strong coffee and not mulled wine. These are good questions from a child needing answers at Christmas time. Forget the trappings of glitter. Children die in wars so bitter. Homeless wander in streets forlorn. On streets, unloved babies are born. Refugees roam across our world. And for this, festive banners unfurl. What's the message? I will tell you. Bells are ringing, not just for lunch. Above all else, this much is true. Jesus was born, the angels sing of peace on earth and God's great love. This is the message Christmas brings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. That was absolutely lovely as well. Brilliant stuff. You have a brilliant Christmas. Where can people go to find out more about all of your work?
They can go online. All the W's, ianhenerypoet.com.
Thank you. And have a brilliant Christmas, a fabulous New Year, and we'll speak to you in the early part of 2022.
You too, Jason. Happy Christmas. Take care. Have a peaceful New Year. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, that's your lot for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a fantastic Christmas. We hope you have a wonderful time. For Christmas itself, we will be releasing a Christmas carol. This will be going out on Christmas Eve in audio version only. Christopher Commander and Sarah Wendy Berman have produced this for us. It's exclusive to the Milk Bar and 101.8 WCRFM. So please have a listen to that. Hope you enjoy that next week. And fingers crossed, we'll be back for our New Year's quiz to finish off 2021 and look forward to 2022. That's all on the way. Meanwhile, as I say, have a great time, enjoy Christmas, and I'll see you soon. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the Milk Bar. Goodbye from the Milk Bar. Goodbye from the Milk Bar. Goodbye from the milk bar, yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar, yeah.